Welcome back to Marvelous Marauders, everyone. Do you think you know everything there is to know about the Chamber of Secrets? Well, think again. In today's video, we're diving into 27. Yes, I know the title says 28, but there is a very good reason for that. Today, we're going to discuss 27 fascinating facts, mostly about the films. The books do have a little bit to play in the part of it, but it's majority about the films. And there's 27 real facts, but one fake fact. So let's see if you actually know all of these facts by being able to tell me which one is fake. It's behind the scenes of the filming of Chamber of Secrets, so keep your eyes peeled for which one is the fake fact. And it's a pretty good one that you may not even notice. Are you ready to uncover the secrets of the Chamber? Let's get started. It might seem like Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is a relatively quick ride through the wizarding world, especially considering it is based on one of the shortest books in the series. However, the film holds the distinction of being the longest Harry Potter movie in the Wizarding World series out of all 11 films. This extended runtime allowed the filmmakers to stay true to the source material and include so much more detail. Despite being based on one of the shortest novels, the movie introduces us to more magical elements. It develops the characters further and dives deeper into the mystery of the Chamber of Secrets. The extra time was used to show more magical creatures, new locations within Hogwarts, and give more weight to the growing dangers Harry and his friends face. With action-packed sequences like the flying car chase, the Quidditch match, and Harry's encounter with the Basilisk, the film makes the most of every moment, ensuring the story stays faithful to the books as possible. In the world of filmmaking, it's not common for movie sequels to be filmed just days after the original wraps, but that's exactly what happened with Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. The cast and crew jumped right back into the world of Hogwarts just 3 days after the filming of Philosopher's Stone. This quick turnaround meant that actors, particularly the young ones, didn't have to wait long to return to the characters they had just started to embody. However, this came with some challenges. The intense filming schedule meant that the production crew had to work even harder to make sure they didn't miss any details or rush any elements of the film. And considering Chamber of Secrets was released only 1 year after Philosopher's Stone, it made this the only film in the series, aside from Deathly Hallows, which was filmed as one large project, to be shot and released within the same year. The fast-paced nature of filming led to a unique rhythm for the actors who were already comfortable in their roles, allowing them to really dive into the emotional depth of their character. It also helped that the sets and costumes were already established, so the production team could focus on the new, darker elements of the film. One of the most iconic moments in the Chamber of Secrets occurs when Draco Malfoy sneers at Goyle, who is actually Harry at the time, in disguise, Polyjuice Potion and all, and says, "I didn't know you could read." This line, which perfectly encapsulates Draco's arrogance and snobbery, wasn't originally in the script. Instead, it was a spontaneous, unscripted moment that came about when Tom Felton, who played Draco, forgot his actual line during filming. Despite the slip-up, Felton's impromptu remark turned out to be a perfect fit for his character, who regularly belittles those around him. The director and producers were so pleased with how well it worked that they decided to keep the line in. This moment shows how much Tom Felton understood his character and how he was able to improvise in a way that felt completely in line with Draco's character traits. It's a great example of how sometimes those unscripted moments can add an extra layer of authenticity and humor to a scene, enhancing the overall storytelling. On the topic of improvisation, in another instance of unscripted brilliance, the scene where Lucius Malfoy confronts Harry and says, "Let us hope Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day," was also an improvised moment. Jason Isaacs, who portrayed Lucius, felt it was fitting for his character's arrogance and disdain for Harry, so he took the liberty to change it up. What's even more impressive is that Daniel Radcliffe, who played Harry, responded naturally and unscripted, "Don't worry, I will be." The quick off-the-cuff interaction between Isaacs and Radcliffe worked so well that it was kept in the film, and it added a sense of authenticity to the scene. These improvised moments demonstrate the strong chemistry between the actors and their ability to stay in character while also enhancing the film with their spontaneous exchanges. It's another testament to how much freedom the actors had to be their characters, to bring the magical world to life. to be Harry Potter. In a surprising twist of production logistics, the filmmakers had to construct an entirely new row of Privet Drive. This was necessary because the production had lost access to the neighborhood used for the first film. They wanted more money. The original neighborhood had been used for filming the Dursleys' home, and after the first movie wrapped, the crew had to find a new location for the second film. Rather than simply finding another street to film on, the filmmakers decided to build a completely new set of houses to represent the Dursleys' suburban street. This new set, constructed at a studio in England, was incredibly detailed to ensure that it matched the aesthetic of the first film. It had to feel like the same place, complete with the same color schemes and suburban architecture, while still accommodating the new scene and challenges that came with the expanded storyline of Chamber of Secrets. The attention to detail ensured that the Dursleys' house would remain instantly recognizable to the audience. And the new row of houses helped maintain the continuity of the story. This also added the sense that the world of Harry Potter was a living, breathing place, where even the smallest details had to be meticulously planned and executed. During filming, the young cast often spent a lot of time bonding, joking around between takes. One particular instance is the fun camaraderie that came with Rupert Grint, who portrayed Ron Weasley. He decided to draw a very unflattering picture of his co-star Alan Rickman, who played Severus Snape. The picture was a lighthearted sketch that poked fun at Rickman, but little did Grint know that it would lead to an interesting interaction between the two. When Rickman saw the drawing, he didn't just laugh at it. He confiscated it and had Rupert sign it. What's more, Rickman reportedly kept the drawing as a personal memento. This moment highlights not only the playful dynamic between the actors, but also Rickman's sense of humor and his understanding that being part of the Harry Potter series involved both serious and lighthearted moments. It's a charming behind-the-scenes story that speaks to the strong relationships between the cast members who spent so much time together during the making of these films. Despite their on-screen tension, particularly between Ron and Snape, the actors enjoyed a warm and collaborative atmosphere off-screen. The Sword of Gryffindor, a significant magical artifact in the Harry Potter series, was actually a real sword that was used in the films. The filmmakers didn't settle for a simple prop. Instead, they required a sword from an auction, which was a genuine piece of craftsmanship. The sword, however, was far from the final product you see on screen, because it definitely didn't have a ruby hilt and say Gryffindor inscribed on the side of it. The prop department did have to work on modifying the hilt design to give it that iconic look fitting the wizarding world. The intricate jewel-encrusted hilt was crafted to match the style of the other magical artifacts within the series, adding to the sense of magic and history that permeates the Hogwarts universe. The sword is an important symbol for Gryffindor House, as it's used by Harry Potter in critical moments. Including the triumph over the Basilisk, its real-world origins added an extra layer of authenticity to its on-screen presence, making it even more impressive when Harry uses it to destroy Tom Riddle's beast, and ultimately thwarting his plans. The filmmakers' decision to incorporate a real sword into the movie demonstrates the level of detail and authenticity they sought to bring to the world of Harry Potter. In Chamber of Secrets, one of the most crucial plot points revolves around Tom Riddle's true identity as Lord Voldemort. To ensure the dramatic reveal of his anagrammed name made sense to audiences around the world, translators faced an interesting challenge. The name Tom Marvolo Riddle had to be carefully adapted so that it could still spell out, "I am Lord Voldemort." In other languages, French for example, Tom Marvolo Riddle became Tom Elvis J. du Sort, which, when rearranged, spells out Je suis Voldemort, which is I am Voldemort in French. This wasn't an easy task. Translators had to ensure the name still made sense within the context of the story while preserving the eerie impact of the reveal. This is a fantastic example of the care and attention that went into making sure Harry Potter was as seamless and immersive as possible for audiences worldwide. It shows how even the smallest details, like a character's name, can be adjusted for cultural accuracy while keeping the essence of the story intact. When you watch the Harry Potter films and see characters like Ron, Hermione, Harry sipping on potions in the Hogwarts corridors, It's easy to assume they're drinking something magical. However, the potions consumed during filming weren't quite as mystical as they appeared on screen. In fact, the crew used a practical but much less magical solution: soup. While the potions were often made to look colorful and mysterious, the substances inside the bottles were usually just various types of soup. This was because soup was an easily adjustable liquid that could be colored and made to look like the potions from the books without the need for special effects or dangerous substances. It also helped to create a more practical and safe environment on set, as actors often had to drink these liquids multiple times during a scene. The decision to use soup as a stand-in for potions highlights the resourcefulness of the production team in making the world of magic feel believable without relying too heavily on complicated effects or even CGI. One of the most memorable aspects of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is Harry's ability to speak Parseltongue, the language of snakes. The rare and eerie ability plays a significant role in the story, especially as Harry tries to understand the mysterious surroundings of the Chamber of Secrets. But did you know that Parseltongue wasn't just a random series of hisses and clicks created by the filmmakers? It was actually developed as a fully functional language with its own phonetic rules. The linguist who created Parseltongue was hired by the filmmakers and was a Cambridge University professor well versed in the study of languages. He developed the language so that it could be used consistently and meaningfully throughout the film. Parseltongue's structure and sounds were carefully constructed to give it an air of mystery and authenticity, which contributed to the sense of danger whenever Harry used it. The level of detail just shows how far the filmmakers went to make even the smallest aspects of this world feel real and immersive. It honestly kind of reminds me of Doctor Who, where William Hartnell was like, last week when I took off, I pulled that lever. You're having me push this button now? That's really weird. I'm going to just pull this lever, and that's just going to be the way I do it every week, because somebody's going to be like, well, why did he pull that lever last week to do the same thing that he's doing this button? He had specific buttons that close the door. I'm going to push this button that closes the door. It's always going to be that button that closes the door. That's what makes it work. One of the most whimsical and magical elements of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets is the Weasley's family enchanted Ford Anglia. This flying car plays a pivotal role in rescuing Harry from the Dursleys and adds a touch of humor and adventure to the film. What's fascinating, though, is that the Ford Anglia used in the film was inspired by a car that J.K. Rowling herself used to ride in as a child. The film's production team worked closely with Rowling to ensure that the details of the car matched her memory, down to the color and model. This connection between Rowling's personal history and the magical world she created adds a layer of nostalgia to the scene, especially considering that the car becomes an essential part of the Weasley's family charm. The fact that the car is linked to the author's own experience only reinforces the sense that the Wizarding World is a place grounded in real memories and emotion. Even though it's filmed with magic, the inclusion of this personal detail makes the car even more endearing and ties the Magic of Harry Potter series back to the author's own childhood. And on the topic of the Ford Anglia, as endearing as it was to the author, it did not mean that the cast and crew weren't going to destroy it multiple times. The scene where Ron and Harry crash into the Whomping Willow is one of the most exciting moments in the Chamber of Secrets. This chaotic and dramatic sequence was something that the production team had to go through an astonishing number of Ford Anglias to achieve. How many? 14 to be exact. These cars were used for different shots as the filmmakers needed to capture various angles of the crash, including the tree's violent assault of the car. The Ford Anglia used in the film was a real car modified to look magical and enchanted, with its transformation into a flying vehicle being a key part of the spectacle. However, to make the crash look as realistic and thrilling as possible, the filmmakers were prepared to sacrifice every single one of these cars. Some of the Anglias were specifically built to withstand the physical rigors of being thrown around during the sequence, while others were used for close-up and staged shots. The wreckage wasn't just about getting a few seconds of film, it was about making sure every angle, every detail felt intense and believable. It's a great example of how much effort goes into creating a single memorable moment in the movie, even if it means wrecking multiple vehicles in the process. Rupert Grint's genuine fear of spiders is well documented, and it's something that made filming the famous Aragog scene in Chamber of Secrets all that more challenging. Grint has a severe arachnophobia, as do a lot of people. A fear so intense that even the thought of a large spider caused him distress. So when it came time to film the sequence when Harry and Ron encounter Aragog, the great giant acromantula within the Forbidden Forest, once raised by Hagrid, the terror that Grint displayed on scene wasn't acting. It was 100% real. The filmmakers were fully aware of Grint's fear, and they ensured that the set was as safe as possible, using a combination of animatronics and special effects to create the monstrous spiders. However, that did not make it any easier for Grint to control his phobia in front of the camera. His expressions of fear, his frantic movements, and his genuine terror were all real, and they helped to bring authenticity to the scene. In fact, his distress was so palpable that it made the moment even more relatable for viewers who shared his fear of spiders. Grint's commitment to the role, despite his personal fears, added a layer of realism to one of the film's most intense sequences, making it an unforgettable moment in Chamber of Secrets. In the original script for Chamber of Secrets, Hermione was supposed to hug both Harry and Ron in the final scene as a way to celebrate the defeat of the Basilisk and the resolution of the film's events. However, when it came time to film the scene, 11-year-old Emma Watson, who played Hermione, was far too embarrassed to hug both of her co-stars in front of the entire cast and crew. Ew, boys. Being a young actress with added pressure of performing in such a massive production, Watson was understandably uncomfortable with the idea of showing affection in front of everyone. As a result, the scene was modified to fit her comfort level, because Chris Columbus actually knew how to work with kids and did a really good job. The script was adjusted so that Hermione only had to hug Harry. Despite that adjustment, though, Emma still felt a little bit self-conscious and awkward during the moment, and when she hugged Daniel Radcliffe, Harry, she pulled away too quickly for the shot to work. As a result, the filmmakers had to artificially extend the final shot in editing to make it appear as though the hug lasted a little bit longer than it actually did. This little moment behind the scenes not only shows how the cast's real-life emotions influence their performances, but also highlights the pressures young actors had to often face in such iconic roles. Child actors work hard. Shirley Henderson, who portrayed the ghost Moaning Myrtle in Chamber of Secrets, had a quite unique challenge in the role. Despite playing a mopey, misunderstood ghost who resides in the girls' bathroom at Hogwarts, Henderson was 37 years old at the time, making her the oldest actress to ever portray a Hogwarts student, until Jacob Kowalski got a wand and was hanging out with Hogwarts students, but I don't think that counts. In fact, Moaning Myrtle's character is technically still a student at Hogwarts, and Henderson's portrayal of the character was truly an example of acting against type. Many fans were surprised to learn of her age, and that it was not just Harry in a wig, as she convincingly pulled off the high-pitched, whiny voice of a youthful, ghastly teen. Henderson's portrayal of Myrtle was full of quirks and comedic moments, adding a touch of levity to the darker moments in the film. They also used her instead of a child because she shows up later and she's a ghost. She can't age, so using someone older kind of helps prevent, hey, did that ghost age? Her ability to tap into the immaturity and heartbreak of Myrtle's ghostly existence, despite being much older than the character was supposed to be, helped make the role memorable. The decision to cast Henderson at an older age was an interesting one, but it paid off by creating a performance that brought a mix of humor and sorrow to a character that could have been easily one note. The moment in Chamber of Secrets where Harry tricks Lucius Malfoy into freeing Dobby is a pivotal scene, both emotionally and visually, and it kind of sets the story in a certain direction throughout the series. To pull off this trick, Harry needed to hand Dobby a sock, which is a symbolic gesture that binds the Malfoy elf to freedom. However, to make this moment as authentic as possible on screen, Daniel Radcliffe had to do something a little unexpected. He had to shave one of his legs. This was necessary because the sock reveal, which involved Harry rolling up his pant leg to show the sock, needed to look realistic in close-up shots, which, without the shaved leg, the camera would have captured too much contrast between the hair and the skin, breaking the illusion for the audience. Radcliffe was up for the challenge, and while it's a small detail, it helped make the scene more convincing. This quirky moment behind the scenes is one of many ways the actors and filmmakers went the extra mile to ensure the film's authenticity from both an emotional and physical perspective. In Chamber of Secrets, Fawkes the Phoenix is one of the more visually stunning creatures, bursting into flames and being reborn from his ashes. But what many people don't know is the animatronic version of Fawkes was so impressively lifelike that even a seasoned actor like Richard Harris, who played Dumbledore at the time, may he rest in peace, was fooled by it. When Harris first encountered the animatronic bird on set, he genuinely thought it was a real bird. This speaks to just how incredibly detailed the filmmakers made the animatronic version of Fawkes, with lifelike feathers, eyes that seemed to glimmer with intelligence, and movements that were incredibly fluid. It's not every day that a veteran actor gets tricked by a prop, but in this case, the realism of the animatronic bird was so convincing that even Harris couldn't tell the difference. This moment is a testament to the remarkable talents of the film's special effects team, whose attention to detail created a magical creature that felt truly alive. For the terrifying roar of the Basilisk in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, the filmmakers wanted to create a sound that felt both organic and monstrous, rather than relying entirely on digital effects. The sound design team took a more creative approach, blending the sounds of several real animals to craft the perfect roar. They used the deep guttural growl of a bear, the hiss of a snake, and the powerful roar of a lion. These sounds were then layered together and manipulated to create something truly unique and fearsome. To make the roar even more unsettling, the team experimented with different animal frequencies, making sure the sound felt unnatural yet believable. The result was so convincing that during the recording process, even the cast members were startled by the sudden burst of the creature's roar. The realistic sound added an extra layer of terror to the Basilisk's presence, making it one of the most memorable creatures in the film. Also, to add to that fact, Jason Isaacs did do the voice of the Basilisk that Harry could hear through the walls. Just a fun fact in a video about fun facts. So we all know John Williams, right? The legendary composer behind the scores of both Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets and Star Wars. Just all of Star Wars, except for like a couple things. But specifically, Star Wars Attack of the Clones, and is known for his ability to craft iconic and unforgettable music themes. Turns out, he stole his own music. So during the Quidditch match in Chamber of Secrets, if you listen to it, it actually is very similar to the music he composed for Attack of the Clones during one of the car chase scenes. And it isn't just a coincidence. Williams brought his signature style and music and motifs to both franchises, creating pieces that felt epic and timeless. Because both films were scored by Williams, it makes sense that there would be some overlap between the two, particularly in a more action-packed sequence. This musical parallel is a fun Easter egg for fans of both franchises, showing how Williams' sound can transcend the magical world of Harry Potter and the galaxy far, far away. Chris Columbus, who directed the first movie and also the second movie, had the idea to take Chamber of Secrets in a darker direction. He knew that the sequel needed to stand out visually from the first film, to reflect a darker and more mature theme, which was beginning to emerge in the story. One of the most significant ways he achieved this was by instructing cinematographer Roger Pratt to change the lighting style. While Philosopher's Stone had a relatively bright and welcoming aesthetic to match the introductory tone of the series, Columbus wanted Chamber of Secrets to have a more mysterious and ominous feel, especially as the dangers surrounding the chamber itself began to unfold. The lighting was adjusted to be moodier, with deeper shadows and more contrast-heavy approach, creating a more suspenseful atmosphere throughout the film. The shift in tone was not only achieved through lighting, but also through the overall visual design, with a great emphasis on darker colors and textures in sets. The shift to more mature aesthetic wouldn't just define Chamber of Secrets, but also set the stage for the films that followed, creating a visual continuity that matched the increasingly perilous challenges the characters would face. And that's why if you've ever seen this is every scene from Harry Potter, look how bright it was in the beginning, look how dark, except for the one part after Harry dies. Look at the brightness there. But I don't think that's truly accurate, but the point still stands. That's what happens. It gets darker and darker throughout the series. And then when Harry is in limbo, it's white. And then you have the end of the film, which is a little bit brighter too. When Jason Isaacs was first cast as Lucius Malfoy, His original character plan was to have short hair and wear a business suit. But Jason Isaacs had other plans as Lucius Malfoy. He was like, no, I look too much like a muggle. A muggle wouldn't have that haircut. A muggle wouldn't wear a suit. I understand I'm a rich businessman, but I would be more of a aristocrat who would wear long flowing robes and a cape and have long hair. Us, and makes me look more drastically different than my son. So he went to production and said, this is what I want, wearing not really a wig and a curtain as a cape. And he said, this is how I want to look. That is how a muggle would look, that design. I want to look like a wizard. And so production agreed. They were like, yeah, that makes sense. Chris Columbus was like, do what you want. Looks good to me. So they all agreed. They said, that's a great idea. But there was one small problem. The long hair kept falling in Jason Isaacs' face. So to counter the falling in the face, Isaacs had to keep his head back to keep his hair back so it didn't fall in his face, which unintendedly had a fitting effect because it made Lucius even more haughty and arrogant. A small adjustment became the essential part of the character's physical presence, making Lucius seem even more condescending whenever he spoke down to someone. I look down my nose at you, sir. And in another scene of Jason Isaacs being pure magic in this movie, we get one of the final scenes of Chamber of Secrets. After Dobby is freed, furious Lucius Malfoy pulls his wand out and begins to cast a spell at Harry, starting with Avada, the beginning of the killing curse. Was he really about to kill Harry in the middle of Hogwarts? However, the moment wasn't in the script. Jason Isaacs was recently finished reading Goblet of Fire, and in the heat of the moment, he forgot what spell he was supposed to use, so he used the one spell that he could remember, which was Avada Kedavra. Since Goblet of Fire hadn't been adapted into film yet, audiences at the time wouldn't have realized how dark the implication was, but fans later understood that just how far Lucius would have gone just because he was mad that he didn't have Dobby. The small improvisation added an extra layer of menace to Lucius's character, showing just how furious and dangerous he could be when he lost his composure. The Harry Potter films are filled with small details and Easter eggs that only the most observant fans will notice, and in Chamber of Secrets, it is not an exception. One of these hidden details can be found in Nocturne Alley, when Hagrid rescues Harry from Borgin and Burke's. As they walk out of the shop, hardcover editions of the Harry Potter books can briefly be seen on the shelf in the background. This is a clever meta-reference, subtly acknowledging the books that inspired the films within the Wizarding world itself. It's unknown whether this was an intentional Easter egg placed by the set designers or just a fun coincidence, but either way, it's a blink and you'll miss it detail that dedicated fans love spotting when rewatching the films. Out of all of the sets created for Chamber of Secrets, none were as elaborate or as costly as Dumbledore's office. Dumbledore likes nice things. We know this. We saw his purple suit. We saw him in Fantastic Beasts and how many suits he had. It was designed to reflect the wisdom and history of Hogwarts' greatest headmaster. The set was filled with intricate details, including massive stone columns, towering bookshelves packed with ancient tomes, and an array of mysterious artifacts. Such as silver instruments, an enormous telescope, the level of detail made the office feel like a place of great knowledge and magical secrets, perfectly fitting for a character as enigmatic as Dumbledore. However, due to the complexity of the design, the set was incredibly expensive to build. The producers were initially hesitant to approve the budget for it. They questioned whether such an elaborate setting was necessary for just a few key scenes. But director Chris Columbus insisted that Dumbledore's office needed to be as grand and awe-inspiring as possible. In the end, the set became one of the most visually stunning locations in the entire series, and it would go on to be reused in later films, making it worthwhile investment. In the book version of Chamber of Secrets, there's a subplot where Harry discovers that all the roosters in Hogwarts have been mysteriously killed. This is an important detail because according to Wizarding folklore, a basilisk can be killed instantly by the crowing of a rooster. The film originally included a small reference to this, as there was a deleted scene where Hagrid is shown carrying a dead rooster while heading towards Dumbledore's office. This moment would have subtly hinted at the basilisk's presence in the castle, but it was ultimately cut from the final film. Despite its removal, keen-eyed fans who read the books noticed the missing detail and wished it had been kept in to maintain the foreshadowing. When Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets was released on DVD in the UK, it shattered records almost instantly. Within its first weekend alone, the film sold over 1 million copies, making it one of the fastest DVD sales of all time. DVDs are those discs that movies used to come on before they were put on HBO Max. This was a huge milestone for home entertainment, as DVDs were still relatively new and a growing media in the early 2000s, because at that time we still had VHS. Those are the tapes that look like giant cassette tapes. That's where like film would go from one side to the other and it would magically like project on a TV. Then they changed it to these magical discs that lasers hit it and it tells you the same data. Crazy technology at the time. But this sold both VHS and DVD, because I remember getting both VHS and DVD. So I contributed to these sales as a kid. The massive success of Chamber of Secrets on DVD reflected just how popular the Harry Potter franchise had become worldwide. Fans were eager to own the movie and rewatch it at home, further cementing the series as a cultural phenomenon, and probably also helping cement DVDs as a replacement for VHS. One of the more comedic moments in the film appears when Crabbe and Goyle unknowingly eat drugged cupcakes, because Hermione is a sociopath and not only holds reporters hostage for at least a week in a jar, but also drugs 12-year-olds. The cupcakes knock them out so that Harry and Ron can steal their identities using polyjuice. However, filming the scene wasn't as fun for the actors who played Crabbe and Goyle. The cupcakes were suspended from a thin, nearly invisible fishing line to make them appear as though they were floating in midair, because they did a lot of practical effects and not CGI. It's funny how good movies don't use as much CGI. That's a conversation for another time, though. But what the actors Jamie Waylett and Josh Herdman didn't realize was that there were hooks securing the cupcakes to the fishing line, which were sharp. As they took bites out of the cupcakes, they accidentally cut the inside of their mouth on the hooks. It was a small but painful reminder that even the simplest scenes can sometimes be unexpectedly difficult to film. At the time Chamber of Secrets was filmed, no one, including the filmmakers, knew that the chamber itself would play an important role in the future of the movies. Once production wrapped, the entire Chamber of Secrets set was dismantled and stored away, as there were no plans to revisit it. However, years later, when Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 was being made, the filmmakers realized they needed to return to the chamber for a crucial scene involving Ron and Hermione destroying a Horcrux. In the books, it's off-scene, but in the movies, they showed it. Since the original set no longer existed, they had to rebuild the entire thing from scratch, carefully matching it to its original design from the Chamber of Secrets. This unexpected reconstruction is one of the rare instances when the Harry Potter production team had to recreate a major set rather than simply repurpose or reuse it. It's also a testament to just how much thought went into maintaining visuals. It is also a testament to just how much thought went into maintaining visual continuity across the films. And there you have it. 27 amazing facts and one sneaky fake fact about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. How many did you know? Do you know them all? Do you know which one's fake? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this magical journey through the wizarding world, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, so you can see more Marvelous Marauders content. Ring that bell so that it'll notify you when I do post. And don't miss out on any of our next adventures. Thanks for watching, and as always, Nox.